What's going on, people? Welcome back to Curtis Shaw TV, back with another live stream. We're back, people. We're back, and we have got some content to talk about, and we have got a game to look ahead to. It kind of felt as if we were never going to play football again, but we're back, and big up to everyone for tuning in today. Obviously, we've got a game to look ahead to now, as one of the games has been postponed, but the other one has not. So lots to talk about today, people. Big up to everyone for tuning in. Really appreciate it. And make sure you lick down that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Apologies for running a few minutes late. I can see you're on to me. Obama Shaw Yang. Obama Shaw. Hey, listen, people. Yeah, my apologies. It's one of them things, you know. By the time I get it already. And yeah, my bad. Try not to let it happen again. But big up to everyone in the chat. Hope you are well. And listen, I just wanted to say, how crazy was the weekend without football? Like, it's mad when you think that we went through lockdown for all those months with no games. And I kind of feel like I just dealt with it, to be honest. But that weekend with no football was hard work, man. Like, it just felt like something was missing. Like, you know what I mean? The weekend was all right, but it was like, yo, where's the football, man? Even the European games weren't enough for me. Like, there wasn't no massive games in Europe. I watched a little bit of French football and stuff. But yeah, it just didn't feel the same. I can't lie, people. I don't know if everyone felt the same way, but yeah, I was missing football, man, for real. Corey said the week was tough. I had American football kicking off. It was okay just 1 week. F1 was there. It was there, but yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't the same. It definitely wasn't the same. Maybe I'm a little bit biased to football and stuff, but big up everyone in the chat anyway. And a few things to talk about today. So finally, we do have some content, and that's the good news. And listen, let's just dig right into it. Let's jump right into it and discuss what is happening, people. So obviously, we got the news that the game against PSV Eindhoven was cancelled. Thursday night's Europa League game against PSV Eindhoven was postponed. Apparently, the reason this game was postponed, it goes into sort of categories of what games are category A, B, and C. Certain games need more policing than others, and the game against PSV is like a category A game because there's over 3,000 away fans coming into the country, and you know, so on and so forth. That meant that this game was not able to go ahead. As I said yesterday, I felt like that game could have gone ahead if they would have sort of, you know, juggled a little bit with the fact that maybe you don't have any away fans, maybe you get to play the game behind closed doors, you know, maybe you play the game with a reduced capacity to make it easier to police the game. However, you know, what do I know at the end of the day? What do I know? They will tell you that it's not possible or whatever. So yeah, it is what it is, and that game doesn't go ahead. But the interesting thing, and what is interesting, is we do have a game this week, which I thought this game was much more likely to be called off than the PSV one. But Arsenal announced yesterday that they were going to go and play against Brentford this Sunday. The game was set to be played at 2 p.m., but the game now is at 12 p.m. UK time. So they've moved the game backwards 2 hours. And the game will be played this Sunday at 2 p.m. at Brentford. Very tough game. And, of course, we lost there last season. So this game will be very difficult. Now, 3 Premier League games have been postponed for this weekend. Those games are Chelsea against Liverpool, which was probably the headline game of the weekend, Manchester United against Leeds, and Brighton against Crystal Palace. Those 3 games have all been postponed. A lot of people very unhappy that this game is not going at, well, these particular games are not going ahead. Obviously, it's due to policing. A lot of people saying, how can a game in London go ahead, but a game in Manchester doesn't when the Queen's funeral is in London? I think it's to do with the amount of police. Leeds and Manchester United, big rivals, would need a lot of police. Chelsea, Liverpool, 2 big games, big six clubs, big fan base. You would need a lot of police. Brighton and Crystal Palace are rivals as well. So again, you would need a big police presence for those games, which is why those games have been postponed, which I can imagine is very, very frustrating for the fan base, for the clubs. Obviously, Wolves, Man City, not a rivalry. Newcastle, Bournemouth, Tottenham, Leicester, Arsenal, Brentford, Everton, West Ham. None of those games as such are rivals or two of the biggest clubs. So the police presence is less than those games that have been called off. Frustrating and very annoying for a lot of people, considering that you have an international break afterwards. Some teams won't have played for 3 weeks by the time they play again next. So, yeah, I can understand it will be very disappointing. Personally, from an Arsenal point of view, a fan and a selfish point of view, I'm actually delighted that the game is going ahead because, you know, the thought of a 2-week international break now would have meant, you know, you haven't seen Arsenal play for maybe 3 weeks by the time the next game came around. Big up to everyone tuned in on Twitch and everyone tuned in on YouTube. C-Unit Business. Few people saying you're only reading the comments from YouTube, not the Twitch ones. My apologies. I don't even look if it's Twitch or YouTube. I simply click on it. Obviously, there's a lot more people watching on YouTube, but big up everyone on Twitch, big up on YouTube as well. Ivan Tony FC, and listen, it's going to be a very difficult game. That is for sure. We're going to look ahead to that game later on in the show, but listen, Brentford away is going to be very, very difficult for a number of reasons. Ivan Toney, probably the biggest reason. So 12 p.m. kickoff UK time this Sunday, and looking forward to the game. Honestly, it seems like a lifetime since Arsenal played. Big up Omar, who said we need to win that game 100%. Jimmy G from New York. Good day, Curtis Love from MY. Big up, bro. Big up to Tony. Appreciate your super chat, bro. He said, a bit of Big C is like an injection of Arsenal and a big part of my life. You are always polite, funny, and no swearing. Make me feel comfortable playing your channel while the kids are in the car. Big up. Hey, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. You know what? A few people ask me this before. They go, how come you never really swear? You know, for me, swearing is unnecessary. You know, I know a lot of people swear and it's part of their general vocabulary. You know, even at my age now, I don't swear in front of my family. I don't swear in front of my kids. Occasionally, you're with your friends, blah blah blah. You know, you might swear the odd time, but yeah, man, it's something. You know, as a parent, I try not to do it because I would hate to hear my kids swear. So it is what it is. But yeah, big up, bro. Appreciate your kind words. Sagio, Arsenal need to catch back their. Nah. We don't need no losing streak. We definitely don't. Swearing also does kill the YouTube algorithm a bit. Yeah, a few people have said, you know, if you swear, you know, it does affect your views apparently. But yeah, here's what I'm quite lucky in the sense that it's not really part of my vocabulary. So I'm quite fortunate in that sense. Jay, listen, tell them where I'm from. You started swearing when you was a kid. You know, Fairy Liquid came out. Bang! Soap in your mouth. You got to clean out that mouth. Look a dirty ass. You know? Come round here swearing in front. Yo, never. That didn't happen where I was from. I'm sure a lot of you who were raised in them 90s and early 2000s, man, you swear in front of your parents. Madness, people. But anyway, let me not lose track of it. Man said facts or the belt. I'm telling you, get licks. No messing around. But, you know, times have changed. Them times, them things can't really run so much nowadays, to be fair. Zach said, I can't lie, it was unusual for me to watch someone on YouTube not swear. Yeah, man, it is what it is. But anyway, we move. Let's look ahead. So we're going to play Brentford on Sunday. Looking forward to the game. We're going to have press conference reaction on Friday, I believe. So looking forward to that. This is the last game before the international break, which is not the most exciting, let's be totally honest. But it is the last international break before the World Cup begins. So a lot of players, I think, will be very... I think this international break will have a very different feel about it than some of the previous ones. The players are going to be desperate to prove themselves, especially the ones that are on the fringes of things and not definitely within their squad yet. So, you know, it's going to be interesting to keep an eye out on a lot of your players who play for your teams. Nathan Minas, big up, bro. He said Saliba will pocket Tony in the first half. Tony will move over to Gabriel and we'll lose the game. Hey, let's hope not. Let's not speak it into existence. Champions League watch-along will be tomorrow. I was going to do one tonight, people, but I'm doing Talk is Cheap live at 5 o'clock tonight on AFTV. So anybody wants to tune in for that, Talk is Cheap live tonight, 5 o'clock on AFTV. So with the timing of the show, by the time I get back, I don't think I'm going to have enough time to do a Champions League watch-along. If I do get back, maybe I'll try and squeeze one in. So let me know if you'd like to watch one. I know Bayern Munich are playing Barcelona, Tottenham are playing Sporting, but we'll definitely do one tomorrow night. If not. So, but yeah, keep an eye on your notifications. If I can get back quick, maybe we will do one. But Talk is Cheap live, 5 p.m. tonight, people. But keep the notifications on, because it may be a case that I get back at 7:30 and I just quickly throw up a Bayern Munich Barcelona watch along. So just keep an eye out. Keep the notification bell on, and I'll see if we can get one done, because that is a good game, to be fair. Let's look ahead. Just briefly, international break. And I want to know your thoughts and feelings on this one, people. I actually forgot to talk about this on the last show, and that is the Arsenal Brazilian trio have all been left out of the Brazil squad, and I wanted to know your thoughts on this. Neither of Arsenal's trio, Gabriel Magalhães, Gabriel Martinelli, or Gabriel Jesus, have been called up to the Brazil national team squad for the upcoming friendlies against Ghana and Tunisia later this month. I wanted to know your thoughts and feelings on this, people. 3 of our players not in the squad. And, yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one, that is for sure. Now, I got to be honest, right? My initial feeling was, I had 2 initial thoughts, and they were both positive in one sense. My first thought was, I'm glad none of them are in it. They don't get injured. They don't have to travel. They can rest. My second positive thought was, maybe the manager is going to pick them. Maybe he's rotating them, and maybe he's looking at other players. However, when you look at the squad that Brazil have picked, it doesn't look experimental to me. So it almost appears to me that they've been dropped. I've got to be totally honest. It doesn't look like, unless him and Arteta have had a discussion and Arteta said, listen, leave them all out. Hopefully it's rotation, because on the flip side, from an Arsenal point of view, I'm like, yep, great, not in the squad. But you just know how much it means for players of certain countries to play for their national team. That, you know, they wouldn't take that very well, in my opinion. Now, if I'm being totally honest, Gabriel Magalhães, the centre-back, I think with him, he's struggling to get in the squad. This is my opinion. Salma said Edu didn't book the flights. Man was too busy smoking cigars, having barbecues. Gabriel Magalhães, I think, could be struggling to get in the squad. Bremer got a big money move this summer. Eder Militao, Champions League winner. Marquinhos, top quality. PSG, Thiago Silva, obviously is the experienced leader. Ibanez, I don't know too much about him. When you look at the wide positions where Gabriel Martinelli would play, you know, you've got Everton Ribeiro, you've got Anthony, Neymar can play wide, Rafinha, Vinicius Jr., Rodrigo. Does he get in that squad? Is there 4 or 5 wingers that are ahead of him at the moment in those positions? I don't think he gets in ahead of Rafinha just because he's at Barcelona. I think that would get him in. I think Anthony, 100 million, will get in. Neymar gets in, of course. Rodrigo, Real Madrid as well. So very difficult as well for Martinelli to get in. Gabriel Jesus is interesting. Firmino hasn't really been playing for Liverpool. And I believe he's picked this guy, Pedro, who is an attacking player as well. Some people saying in the comments there that Jesus has been rested, so they can look at Firmino and this Pedro. Let me know your opinions. Maybe you've heard a little bit different, and maybe you have a bit more insight. Gabriel gets in over Ibanez and Bremer, says Motta. Darren said Jesus is 100% for the national team, so he's due to rest. Gabriel centre-back and Martinelli are not certain and have been dropped. Yusuf said I'm overreacting. I'm not overreacting, I'm just weighing it up. I would look at that and think, maybe Martinelli and maybe Gabriel Magalhaes are genuinely struggling to get in, possibly. I would think Jesus would definitely get in that squad for me. So interesting. Firmino is on fire. Yeah, while Darwin Núñez came out, he was definitely putting up numbers. Omar said, I don't think Gabriel Magalhaes will make the squad. John said, Jesus should be in that squad. No way Jesus misses the World Cup. Overreacting a bit here. Our players are much better than the players that have been picked. I would say in some of them, yes. Some of them, yes. I think if you was taking 4 wingers and you picked Anthony, sometimes you got to look at it like, here, Zizzy says Martinelli is better than Anthony or gets in over Anthony. Anthony just costs 100 million euros. That's hype. You know, a lot of managers will pick hype. So Anthony probably would get in ahead of him. Neymar out wide. Rafinha at Barcelona, 65 million. Vinicius Jr., one of the best wingers in the world for me. GB said Jesus has been told they're just looking at options. Martinelli and Magalhaes are not. Magalhaes is struggling for Arsenal. I think he needs to up his game. I've got to be honest, I think Gabriel Magalhaes has been pretty average for Arsenal this season. He's having solid games, but he's looking dodgy at times, which is something he needs to eradicate from his game. But I certainly think Gabriel Jesus goes to the World Cup. Isaac said there was a report yesterday that said Jesus is getting in with Magalhaes. They are just being rested. Martinelli, not sure. I would think, I haven't seen much of this Ibanez. Somebody just said he plays for Roma. I wouldn't think that he was ahead of Gabriel. And Bremer, I mean, I don't know how well he's done since leaving and getting that big money move in the summer. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see. It's interesting, but if they go to the World Cup, then great for them. You know, I suppose it's not the end of the world if they have a break now. We've obviously got a very congested and very difficult fixture list coming up at the moment. So 3 of our big players getting a break would certainly not be the end of the world from an Arsenal point of view. So, yeah, we'll have to see with that one. But I just thought that was a bit of an interesting one with all 3 of them. Maybe it's something that was agreed with the club to leave all 3 of them out. Johnny said Thiago is 37. Why can't he get rested? That is interesting. Don't forget, people, today's video is sponsored by footballprizes.co.uk. Link in the description below. There's a competition running until next Monday, the 19th of September at 7:30. Tickets are £9.95 for this one. It's a mega bundle. You can win a framed shirt signed of Robert Pires. There's also a Freddie Ljungberg and a Dennis Bergkamp one, as well as a competition for 2 hospitality tickets for Arsenal versus Brighton after the international break. Link is in the description. All fully certified. You get a certificate of authenticity. It is only available in the UK or the Republic of Ireland, unfortunately. But tickets are £9.95 if you want to get involved. Link in the description below. Big up to them for supporting the channel. footballprizes.co.uk. Right. Let's look ahead, people. Do they give Eddie shirts? I'm not sure. I'm not sure, people. Gary, apparently they are looking to start shipping worldwide, so that will make it a lot easier and a lot more inclusive, people, once they do that. Make sure you smash the like button and subscribe. Latte, big up Big C in the community. We out here in Cancun. Man's living. Man is living. Enjoy your holiday, bro. I know you work hard. I appreciate all your support on the channel, so big up to you. As always, big him up. And don't forget, people, we are going to do a member stream this Thursday at 4 o'clock. Member stream this Thursday at 4 o'clock. Call in all members, platinum and diamond members. Get yourself involved. I will post the link on Thursday and get yourself on. We're going to talk about the transfer window. We're going to talk about the way we've started the season, as well as looking ahead to the Brentford game and stuff like that. So if you're not a member, get yourself involved. Join. If you are, make sure you tune in. I want to see lots of you on there on Thursday at 4 o'clock. Right, let's look ahead. Good bit of news for Arsenal, people, and that is that this man is back in full training. Thomas Partey returns. He is he's back in full training. He's been training since last week, the middle of last week, apparently, just before The game against Zurich, he was in full training. AS45, the member streams are live. They are live, so get yourself on. And let's get 1,000 likes. Yeah, so the Thomas Partey is back in full training. Hopefully no more Indomie. And listen, we need him back. This guy, for me, is absolutely vital. People saying the granddad, the grandpa is back. For me, Thomas Partey, 1 week back in training. Against Brentford, for me, he doesn't start. I just simply think that I believe we have 10 games in the Premier League until the World Cup. Ultimately, once that World Cup starts, you could say that the transfer window starts because people will be negotiating from that time. There will be no more Arsenal games. I think Arsenal have to get him through as many of these games as possible, get to the January window and bring in another midfielder. We can see that our midfield is not where it needs to be at the moment. If we can get to January, bring another midfielder in, I think that gives us a great opportunity to move forward until the end of the season. If we stick with what we've got, I think we're taking an unbelievably big risk. But if Thomas Partey can stay fit for the majority of those 10 games, I think we get to the World Cup in a good position. We strengthen in January. We go again from Boxing Day when the second part of the season resumes. For me, Brentford away, they move the ball well. They're very direct. They're quite physical. I wouldn't be starting him against Brentford, especially with the fact there's an international break afterwards. It's an opportunity for him to get additional time. GB, you make a fantastic point here. Now, I just read that Thomas Partey has been called up for the Ghana squad for the international break. They play Brazil during that international break as well, which will obviously be a very difficult game and lots of travelling involved. For me, if I'm Arsenal, and this is where I say bigger managers, and this is no disrespect to Thomas Partey being managed by Mikel Arteta, I'm just saying, for me, he's just recovered from a muscular problem, a recurring muscular problem, and you're going to send him on international duty. Ghana have 2 games. Now, for me, I think if that's Pep Guardiola, if that's Sir Alex Ferguson, if that's Ancelotti, Conte, Jurgen Klopp, I'm pulling him out of that squad. Ghana, you've qualified. Ghana, you know Thomas Partey is your main man. You know what he's about. He will see you in November when you go to the World Cup. There is no need for Thomas Partey to go and get 2 more games for Ghana in an international break, in friendlies. He doesn't need to play. It's a muscular injury problem. Him getting injured during this international break could potentially ruin our season. It's as simple as that. When you look at the fixtures that we have coming up after this international break, he simply should not be going on international duty. I'm sorry. There's no way. You got to say, listen, he's just come back from injury. There's no way he goes. There's no way. I know players are proud to play for their country. They're desperate to represent them. Totally understand that. Thomas Partey should not be going on this international break. I don't care what anyone says. Wrap him up, stay at home and chill. You don't need to be playing in international friendlies. So top managers would have held their player back. Facts, you know how it goes. Oh, he's not fully fit yet. The doctors, sign these papers. Bang, he can't make it. Going and playing 2 games for Ghana is not a good thing right now. I mean, I'm just looking here. Ghana fixtures, just to get context. They play Brazil. They're playing Brazil in Brazil on Friday, the 23rd of September. And they then play Nicaragua. So they're traveling to South America on the 27th of September. So you're looking, 8-9 hour flights for him. That is the last thing you want, people. I'm sorry. Ahmed said this could be good for Arsenal. The 3Gs will be put in a shift every week to get into the national team. If they've been purely dropped, then they're going to be desperate to prove themselves. So they will hopefully step their game up even further. Top managers would have held their player back. Fake a new injury. George said, have you ever played for Jamaica? Only at youth level, not a full international level, unfortunately. But yeah, it's still a great experience. I may have some news regarding the Jamaica national team very soon. Look out. Omar said, this is pure sabotage. He's already injury prone. Now he's going to play some pointless friendlies, get injured again. This will leave Arsenal with Xhaka and Sambi for the 9 games. Unbelievable. And the man's going to travel to Brazil. He's going to travel to Brazil. People saying the friendly is in France. Let me check that. Because they all play. It says Brazil away, but I could be wrong. The game might not actually be. You're totally right. Big up the community. There we go. That's a little bit better. They play in Le Havre. Is it Le Havre? Le Havre in France. So that's a little bit better. Big up for letting me know this. So the game is in France against Brazil. I actually wouldn't mind going to that, you know. It's an interesting one, that. Brazil against Ghana in France on the 23rd of September. So that's a little bit. At least he hasn't got to fly too far. That's good. That's good news. Big up for letting me know in the community. This is why you're legendary community people. You let me know these things. So, yeah, good news. He doesn't have to fly to Brazil. So, yeah, maybe not as bad. But yeah, still wouldn't have wanted him to play. Curtis was a reggae boy, bro. Much respect. Come on, man. Back in the day, bro. I was about. Anyway, Thomas Partey is back. Good news. As I said, for me, Brentford, he shouldn't be starting. Get him on the bench. If the game, 20 minutes, little bit of match fitness. 1 hour flight equals 1 month of injury. That's probably all he can manage. All I'm saying, Edu, book Thomas Partey the extra leg room. That brother, no EasyJet, no Ryanair. No disrespect to any of them if they ever watch out. You know, I'll still take a sponsorship on the channel. But he needs extra leg room. Make sure he gets a nice flight, 1 hour, no problem, and manage it. Surely we got to be saying to Ghana he can't play both games. That's the very least. He should not be participating in both of them games. That is for sure. Anyway, let's move on, people. Let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about transfers and Arsenal. Douglas Luiz, somebody we spoke about, you know, in great detail at the end of the summer transfer window. Is very disappointing in the end. Once I kind of got my mind around the fact that we were going to sign him, I started to convince myself that this guy was a really good signing for us and we should bring him in and he'll really help us. Ultimately, we ended up missing out on him. Now, a report coming out of Brazil today is that Arsenal could be set to go back in for Douglas Luiz at a cut price in January. The reason for this, and this is what the report is saying, Aston Villa kept Douglas Luiz in the summer as Steven Gerrard believed they had an opportunity to push for a European place this season. He felt Douglas Luiz would be pivotal in this push and was willing to risk Douglas Luiz leaving the club for a free at the end of the season, despite the fact the midfielder wanted to join Arsenal in the summer. It is believed Arsenal making a move late in the day made it difficult for Aston Villa to replace him sufficiently, despite them signing Dendoncker from Wolves. This was a deal that was already happening despite Douglas Luiz's presence at the club. Now, there's the story, people. Sorry, I had to read that out. I had it on the phone, didn't have it up on the screen. So, it's believed they wanted to keep him. They thought they could get European football. Let me tell you something, bro. The only way Aston Villa are touching Europe this year is if they jump on the Eurostar and go and watch that Ghana versus Brazil game that Thomas Partey is going to be playing in. Because let me tell you something. You ain't touching Europe, Stevie Gerrard. Yeah, of course. It ain't happening, Jezza. You ain't touching Europe. Yeah? So listen, let me tell you something now. You were talking about Europa, you know, touching Europe and all of that business. You ain't touching Europe. In fact, Steven Gerrard, you could be getting the P45 if this form carries on. However, Aston Villa are currently joint second bottom of the Premier League. The only reason they're not actually second bottom is goal difference. They have 4 points from the first 6 games, -5 goal difference. Like I said, they ain't touching Europe. They're closer to the Championship than touching Europe. So Steve Man said, no, of course. Those comments will get you sacked. I'm telling you, man. Steven Gerrard, Steven Gerrard, calm down, lad. Let Jezza go, lad. Let him go to Arsenal. He don't want to play for Villa. You ain't touching Europe this season, Jezza. You might get the sack first, lad. You're joint second bottom in the league, Slippy G. Just let him go to Arsenal. Will you 12 million and £1, lad? How about that for you, Gerrard? There you go, people. That was my Brookside, my Scouse accent. Apologies for everyone who was offended by that. I thought that was prime, Robbie Fowler, Michael Owen, Steven Gerrard. But anyway, Dre's back as a member. Big up yourself, bro. Make sure you're in the member stream Thursday, 4 o'clock. Want to see plenty of you on there. So, yeah, Steven Gerrard, he thought they were going to touch Europe. So, he rejected the move. Luiz didn't reject. From everything I've read, it said he was desperate to sign for us. He even spoke to Edu personally to convince him to come to Arsenal, Once Edu speaks to the Brazilian Donny on the phone, it usually happens, that's for sure. Slidey Gerrard wanting to slide into Europe using Air Wakanda. Good Lord. Man can dream. And the award goes to, I know, man. Apologies. Not bad from an actual Scouser. There you go, Scouse. Listen, if Scouse Schooner tells me that's not bad, then I'll take it. I will take it. And Chariot said the accent was clean. There you go. Yo, I'll take that, I'm telling you. That's not bad. It's not quite, the middle of Croxif, but, I'm not far off. So anyway, the story is saying now, just to add a little bit of context to it, the story coming out of ESPN in Brazil is that due to Aston Villa's really poor start to the season, pressure is mounting on their manager, Steven Gerrard. And now it seems as if Aston Villa would possibly be willing to cash in on Douglas Luiz in January if their situation doesn't change. Where this situation gets complicated for Arsenal is this, though, people. A man said Curtis from top. Where the situation gets complicated is this. Douglas Luiz can sign on a free transfer for a club outside of the Premier League in January, and it is believed Atletico Madrid are interested in signing Douglas Luiz. They may offer him a contract in January to sign for them at the end of the season. Arsenal would have to pay a fee because he's still contracted, and obviously it's to another Premier League club. So in theory, he could go to Atletico Madrid on a free. Atletico would pay him an inflated signing on fee because there would be no transfer fee, where Arsenal would have to pay a fee for him. It's saying he could be willing to go. Aston Villa could be willing to sell him for between 12 and 16 million pounds, with the player having less than 6 months on his contract by January. Would you make another move for Douglas Luiz in the summer? In January, or would you wait until the summer? If we get in the Champions League, would you look higher? I just think personally, Arsenal have to sign a midfielder in January. That is for sure. If we got any chance of getting top 4, I don't think this current squad is strong enough. I think if we can get a winger and a midfielder in January, a good one, it would give us a proper possibility of getting top 4. Penalty Spot said, big up Curtis and the community. I hope you are well, sir. I'm good, bro. James Bond, man, Gerrard couldn't sell water in the desert. He might slip in it, though. Sorry, Liverpool fans. Sorry. I actually like Gerrard, and the Slippy G jokes aren't actually funny. But I just couldn't help it. You set me up there. I couldn't. That Scouse bit is worthy of a YouTube short. Why not? We might fling it on there later. Why not? Nick said, no, I'll go for Danilo instead. Would you say Danilo? Would you rather sign Danilo or Douglas Luiz? You know what? It's only right, innit? Let's get a poll up. More polls than a strip club. Midfielder then in January. We have been linked with Danilo at times as well. Would you rather sign Danilo or Douglas Luiz in January? Who would you rather sign? I have to admit, it's a difficult one for me because I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I've watched 15, 20 games of this Danilo. I've done what we've all done. I've watched him on YouTube. I've read up on his stats. I don't know enough about him, to be honest. I doubt he speaks the language. He might be the better player. I'm taking Douglas Luiz just for the fact I think he can make an instant impact. This Danilo maybe long term is better. But I'm going Douglas Luiz. That's just my opinion. He does look good, that Danilo, though. But I honestly can't say that I've seen enough of him. Penalty Spot's asking, Fitz, hey bro, thoughts on Arsenal. I'm hoping you two are on the member stream Thursday at 4 o'clock. Always look forward to your opinions. Danilo, who plays for Palmeiras in Brazil, is the one we're being linked with, not Danilo Pereira at PSG. But I honestly haven't seen him play enough, so we'll have to see. Yeah, that's true. The language probably isn't a problem. A lot of our teams speak Portuguese. The manager speaks it as well. Chris said, I like the look of Danilo, but Luiz is Prem proven. Get both. Johnny said, Luiz is proven. South London's finest. I've seen reports in Brazil say he's not ready yet in terms of Danilo. And I just think what Arsenal don't need to be doing is signing a player for 25, 30 million. He comes in, it takes him 3 months to adjust, and we miss out. And ultimately, but, you know, some people say Douglas Luiz isn't all that as well. So it's a tricky one. It is a tricky one. I'm going to be honest, I'm just playing it safe. I'm signing something that I know. He is Prem proven. He is decent. I think even if you got a better midfielder in the summer, Douglas Luiz is a good squad player to have. He knows the league. He's physical. He's got good technical ability. I don't think he would take long to adjust. I think in January we need someone that can go straight into the team. I'm not saying Danilo can't do that, but I just wouldn't take the risk at the moment. That's just my opinion. But you never know. It might be easier to get Danilo, and in that case, they will go for him. So that's definitely an interesting one. But the poll is there. Get voting. Who would you rather sign in January? Danilo, or would you rather sign Douglas Luiz, people? Arsenal being linked today with Douglas Luiz in a cut price deal, according to ESPN in Brazil. Could be available for around £15 million this summer. Random thought. It's a shame about Abu Dhabi. Thought he was going to go to the top. What a player he was. Karas said, got my first job as a psychologist today. Big up the whole C unit from Greece. Big up, big up, big up, big up, big up, big up, big up. Yo, 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 let's go. Big up yourself. Well done. Psychology, man. Interesting thoughts, you know, on some of these Arsenal players, I'm sure. Let us know what you see. But listen, well done. Big up yourself, man. Ghana play Partey as an 8 is literally their hope. We need Luiz to immediately replace and play to a similar standard. And that's what I'm saying. The pressure, I think he's 20 years of age. Can he handle that? Can he come in and just, you know, turn things up for us? I don't know. Jashar, big up Curtis Just Reach. We need to buy both. This should be El Nenny's last season on Arsenal's books. Totally agree with that. Totally agree with that. For me, I didn't agree with El Nenny getting a new contract. Because for me, El Nenny is exactly what it says on the tin. It's simple. It's okay. It's reasonably effective. It's like having dry bread for lunch, you know. Ultimately, if you know, it will fill your belly, but you ain't going to enjoy it, that's for sure. For me, El Nenny at the end of the season's got to be let go. We gave him a 1-year deal with a 1-year option. I think if we're going to move forward, you've got to upgrade on your El Nennys and players like that. So, yeah, I would get rid of El Nenny in the summer. Congratulations on the job. Can you try getting to Arteta's head? Find out why he makes substitutions so late. I hear you on that one. Big up to Karas. Harlech said Douglas Luiz will fill in immediately. Upgrade on El Nenny, Sambi, or even Xhaka. Chris said simple, okay, and reasonably effective. Well, a little bit. El Nenny's in his last year. Wouldn't surprise me. I get the impression El Nenny's just one of them nice guys. Yeah, he's a nice guy. He trains well. Turns up on time. He's got a fantastic attitude. He don't moan about anything. He runs his socks off. And managers love those kind of players. They love them. And I think that's why they keep players like him around. But I just think Arsenal have to move on from players like that. Gary said Danilo plays 6 and 8 dribbles and scores might take time. Luiz has no sell-on. I think it's harsh to say Luiz has no sell-on. He's only 25. He's a Brazilian international. He's in the Prem. His stock would go up if he came to Arsenal. So I still think there is sell-on there. Danilo is definitely a talent. And long-term, maybe his ceiling is higher. But I don't know. It's very hard to tell. I haven't seen enough of him. So, yeah, I'm not gonna comment on which one I think is better. I'm just more saying I would go Dougie Luiz because of the fact he knows the league. Let's end that poll, people. Let's end that poll. Would you rather sign Danilo or Douglas Luiz in the January window? 63% of you are saying Douglas Luiz, 37% say Danilo. So I think more of you are just, would like to go ahead with what you've seen rather than an unknown quantity. Penalty Spot said, the fact that Xhaka and Elneny's contracts have been extended is baffling. Can't progress whilst carrying dead weight. Arteta's Achilles heel. He's done fairly well getting rid of a lot of them, although he hasn't sold any of them pretty much. But you could say that's down to Edu more than him. But yeah, the few that have really baffled me are definitely Elneny and Xhaka getting new deals. Rob Holding as well, I think, was very lucky. Maybe just the fact that he's English and you need certain homegrown players. But yeah, it's an interesting one, that is for sure. Jean Rene, I have to admit, I like the look of Danilo. Douglas Luiz will adjust and settle down faster. Yeah, I think so. Abid said, damn, Curtly, where you been? We miss you, bro. Hey, listen, I was just getting back into the swing of daily content, and then obviously everything got delayed over the weekend due to the Queen's unfortunate passing, and we had a bit of a break. There was no real content, and I just don't like forcing content. I really don't. I don't want to be one of them channels that no matter what happens every day, I have to put out a video. I have to have something that I want to talk about, that I can engage with the community with. But listen, we've got a game. I'll have a preview out this weekend. We'll have the watch along on Sunday. And we'll maybe do another watch along over the weekend as well, because it is the international break. So I suppose we've got to enjoy the football while we've got it. Saturday, late kickoff, Tottenham-Leicester. We could do that one. And then obviously Arsenal, 12 o'clock on Sunday. We'll have a Champions League watch along tomorrow as well. Maybe today. Don't forget, anyone who's just tuned in, Talk is Cheap is live today on AFTV at 5 p.m. If I can get back in time, we may do a Champions League watch along tonight, depending on what time I can get back. Let me know whether you'd rather watch Liverpool versus Ajax, or would you rather see maybe Bayern Munich versus Barcelona, or you've also got Sporting Lisbon against Tottenham. Quality over quantity is the key, people. In anything you do, do it to the highest of your ability. Make sure you've got enthusiasm for it. Don't do it because you feel you have to do it. That's my opinion anyway. Anyway, let's move. Let's continue, people. Let's continue with Arsenal. Now, a couple of other stories before I start rounding up. One is we could be running into what they like to call fixture congestion FC. According to John Cross, the Prem is back, but 3 postponements, including 2 of the biggest games. Now, there is an unbelievable story going around today, people, regarding Arsenal that I thought I would bring up. Now, I don't know how true this is, and I don't know if this can even happen, but they're saying that basically Arsenal have to finish their Europa League group stage before November the 7th, because that's when the draw for the knockout stages gets done. So you have to finish all of your group games by November the 7th. Now, at the moment, they're saying there is no free week where Arsenal can fit this game in. What Arsenal are trying to do is cancel the game against Manchester City, which is midweek next month. They want to cancel the Man City game, push the Man City game back to January or February, fit in the Europa League game, and that way they get to finish by November the 7th. However, what they're saying is, if the Premier League don't agree to cancel the Manchester City game, Arsenal may have to forfeit the game against PSV. I mean, that is unbelievable, because the Manchester City game that I believe is midweek on a Wednesday or Thursday, I believe. You need them to cancel it, basically, for Arsenal to get this game in. Now, we play Manchester City on the 19th of October. Wednesday, the 19th of October, 7:30 at the Emirates. Arsenal want to play this game at home against PSV on Thursday, the 20th of October. But if the Premier League do not agree to it and they cannot rearrange the fixture with Manchester City, there is a possibility Arsenal would have to forfeit the fixture and take a 3-0 defeat. Tottenham did something similar last season in the Conference League where they couldn't fit the fixture in. They forfeited. It led to them actually being kicked out of the Conference League, which I think they probably weren't that bothered about at the time. It could mean that Arsenal, if they don't agree to it, it could be a case of Arsenal having to play on Wednesday and Thursday, which I'm sure wouldn't be possible. Maybe you play the youth team against PSV and hold a 4-0 defeat, but what's the point? So, unbelievable story that they're saying here. Hopefully, obviously, surely the Premier League will agree to it and move the game back until February. It's exceptional circumstances. So surely the Premier League would help out a major club in England. But, if they don't, that's worst case scenario. So it should be all right anyway, I would imagine. Arsenal have a further blow of the PSV being postponed. Talks of forfeiting the game feel strange. Their first priority, as said in the story in the paper, is to recognise a midweek game, possibly Man City next month. Europa has to be completed on November the 7th. The block of games lost last weekend have to be reorganised, but if they forfeited and finished second in the group, they'd get 2 extra games in the round of 32. The first priority is to reschedule a Prem game, but it's a fixture nightmare for Arsenal. At least Brentford is on. So basically what happens, if you finish second in the group, you go into the round of 32 and you have to play another fixture. If you win the group, you go straight to the last 16. So it saves you having to play 2 extra games in the Europa League. So Arsenal obviously want to top their group. Listen, I would imagine the Premier League would not stitch Arsenal up like that. I think they will move the fixture to next year. Let's face it, we don't really want to play Man City right now anyway. Push that game way back and let's deal with that at a later date. So it is what it is. I think it will be organised and sorted moving forward. But certainly interesting, that is for sure, people. Anyway, let's move on. Couple more stories and then we'll be out of here. We're at 45 minutes. We'll get to an hour. King Darius said, yo, sure, man, if I'm PSV, I'm not rescheduling. I'm taking the points, especially after drawing. I hear you. Andrew said, how do I become a member? There should be a join button next to the subscribe button. If you are watching on an iPhone, sometimes it doesn't show up. You have to go on an Android device or on a laptop. For some reason, sometimes on an iPhone, it doesn't show up. So we'll have to see. Karas said, push the Man City game for next summer's pre-season. Yeah, man. Maybe we just give them a 3-0 win and keep it moving. We don't even want to play them. Nah, listen, we need to have a go at them this year, especially at home. Anyway, let's move on, people. Let's move on. David Dein had an event on last night in Cambridge, at the University of Cambridge. He has a new book coming out. Talking about his time at Arsenal, how difficult it was for him to leave Arsenal. I mean, him and Arsene Wenger were absolute masterminds of the football club. Some would say we never really recovered once this partnership was broken up. It always felt to me like once David Dein left, a part of Arsene Wenger just wasn't the same. He didn't feel as strong and as powerful. I think David Dein knew the market very well. He had a lot of great contacts. And I felt like Arsene Wenger tried to do too much once David Dein left the football club. David Dein, Arsene Wenger, Thierry Henry, Ian Wright, all these people were at the event last night. David Dein, the headline coming out of what he said was he believes that Arsene Wenger should be working for Arsenal in some capacity. He says it is a waste that Arsenal are not tapping into the mind of a genius, somebody who cares greatly about the football club. I'm sure there is a role within Arsenal where Arsene Wenger can be of great help to the club, the players, and the management. Would you like to see Arsene Wenger return to Arsenal in some way? Of course, Wenger hasn't even returned to the Emirates or the training ground since leaving, as he said it was too painful for him to return. Now, I have to admit sometimes, and I hope this doesn't come across the wrong way, every time you watch a Man United game, you see Sir Alex Ferguson in the stands. Now, it's great. It's great to see Sir Alex at the games if you're a United fan. I think sometimes, though, if you're the manager, do you want to see him at every game? Does it put unnecessary pressure on you? Or what role would he have at the club if he came back? Let's put a poll up. Would you like Arsene Wenger back at the club in, some capacity? Would you like Arsene Wenger back at Arsenal to help Arteta? Just straight yes or no, people. I just always look at it and think, surely you could tap into his mind in some sort of way. I think if you're Bukayo Saka, if you're Gabriel Martinelli, if you're, Emile Smith-Rowe, I think him popping on the training ground every now and then, I would absolutely love to see him if I was a young player. I'm not saying you bring him in as a coach. What you don't want to do is get him treading on Arteta's toes and trying to run the show. But for me, I think it's a big waste that he isn't involved. I tell you something. He's probably more well-respected and has more connections than Edu in the footballing world. The only problem is Arsene Wenger is very anti-money, anti-agents, so I wouldn't necessarily think of bringing him into that sporting director role. This is the same Arsene Wenger that refused to pay £7 million agent fee to sign N'Golo Kante, the same Wenger that took part in a £40 million and a pound offer. So I wouldn't necessarily bring him into that role. As an ambassador, popping on the training ground every so often and being a face around the club, I think absolutely Arsene Wenger should have some sort of presence at Arsenal Football Club. And I've got to admit, I was not on YouTube at the time when Arsene Wenger was the manager. I won't cap. I felt Arsene Wenger needed to leave. But I always had huge respect for him. And I think he's an absolute legend. I think he should have a statue at the stadium. And I have to admit, when I see pictures of him, I actually feel an element of sadness that he's not still a part of Arsenal, because he was such a great man, I think. I think he had amazing respect. I think he was a true gentleman. I think he transitioned Arsenal. And I think it was a real shame how it ended. But for me, I would love to see Arsene Wenger at Arsenal in some capacity on a part-time basis. I think if I was a young player, I would love seeing him on the training ground. Anthony said 100% Big C. David Dein leaving was even more detrimental to us than Kroenke, because if we had him at the club instead of Edu, Dein would easily be able to excel in his role regardless of the owner. I hear you on that. Fitz, thank you for the super chat, bro. He said, in his last 10 years at Arsenal, Wenger lost his footballing mojo. It was he that initiated this acceptance of mediocrity at our club. I wouldn't have him back, as it would give Arteta a job for life. That's a good point. He does seem very big fan of Arteta. I would just have him in an ambassador role, Just pop to the odd game, wave to the fans every now and then, go on the training ground, speak to the young players. I wouldn't get him involved too much. So that's where I would be with it. DJ Sweet said, Curtis, imagine how Pepe would have been under Wenger. I think he would have been far better. He would have freed him up and got more goals out of him, that's for sure. Karas says, great point. Kev, Dein and Wenger were very good for Arsenal. It all went belly up when Dein left, 100%. Wasn't the same when he left. Salman said, I was Wenger out at the end, but when I see him, I have good vibes, 100%. I'm exactly the same. I wasn't Wenger out in the same way, though. I wasn't screaming and shouting. I was saying it respectfully, because I had the ultimate level of respect for Wenger. But he needed to go for his own good. And I think Wenger, the reason he hasn't managed again is because I think once he came out of management, he realised that the game had changed and it wasn't for him anymore, and that he hadn't adjusted. And I think he looks a lot fresher now. Jashar said, big up Curtis. Wenger was elite with young players. He would be a great influence. Honestly, if I'm a young player at Arsenal and he's popping on the training ground once a week, twice a month, I would love to speak to him and listen to him. And, I think it would be excellent. Ali J said, we all love and respect Wenger, but his last 10 years killed this football club. Oh, strong words. Thank you for your super chat. I don't think he's completely to blame. Ultimately, Kroenke was running the club. and Ivan Gazidis was a big part of a lot of those transfers. But Arsene Wenger was certainly a big part of the decline that happened in the last 5 years or so, in my opinion. I think he stayed too long. I always thought when he won an FA Cup, he should have won the FA Cup and left on a high. He did the opposite. He used the FA Cup wins to motivate him to stay even longer. And I think that was the problem with Arsene. Anders said, true, I agree with his ending period not being up to the bar. We've not been able to recover the trophy of getting fourth in Champions League. He set the standards for the new Arsenal, nothing since that. It's interesting. Arsene used to get fourth, and we used to say there's such a lack of ambition, telling fans that fourth is like a trophy. We were very against that. I remember sitting in the Emirates saying, I can't believe Wenger's saying fourth is a trophy. We're bigger than that. We're better than that. We're only a top striker away from a title challenge. But ultimately, we haven't touched Champions League since he left. He obviously missed out once. And then Emery and Arteta have missed out. So maybe he was right. Maybe top four is a trophy within modern day football, unfortunately. C was ripping his shirt towards the ends of Wenger time. Nah, man, no chance. But there was certainly a heck of a lot of frustration. Let's finish off, people. Let's finish off. One more story before we round up. It's been a great stream. Appreciate you all tuning in. Just thought I'd look. Fixtures. October is going to be absolutely pivotal in the direction of Arsenal Football Club this season. Make no mistake about it. We need everybody back fit. We need all of our main players fit. And we're going to need to win games. We're going to need to win a lot of games in October. When you look at the fixtures, people, obviously we play Brentford this weekend. First game after the international break, Tottenham at home. You're then looking at a Thursday, Bodo Glimt at home, and then we play Liverpool. Then we go away to Bodo, then we play Leeds away. Those three, in fact, those four, because let's not get anything twisted here. Brentford is a tough game. And then, by the way, Manchester City at home and then Southampton. I mean, those fixtures are absolutely unbelievably difficult. I mean, in October, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games in October, people. 9 games in October. I mean, that run of fixtures is absolutely crazy. How are we going to manage a 9-game month? And like I said, Tottenham and Liverpool in the first week back after the international break. If Thomas Partey doesn't come back from Ghana fit, it's a madness. We need him for them games, which is why I'm saying Brentford away, Thomas Partey for me should not be starting. 20 minutes. There should be instructions to the Ghana national team. He can't play both games. Tottenham, North London derby. The players won't come back till Wednesday or Thursday. We play Tottenham on the Saturday morning at home. Must win game. We got to come back from that break, beat Tottenham, beat Bodo at home, and then Liverpool. I mean, damn. Listen, I'm not even going to cap that guy, D. Listen, October is a content creator's dream. No doubt about it. But ultimately, on the flip side, as a football fan, if we're not winning these games, it can become a nightmare real quick. You know what I mean? Because let me tell you something. It is stressful doing a watch along when your team is losing. So I'm hoping beat Brentford. As I put on the thumbnail today, can we stay top of the league for the international break? If we beat Brentford, we go into that break top of the league. We get back for October. By the middle of November, that's it. World Cup starts. International break. Transfer window opens. Get your midfielder in, and we're good to go. We have got an absolutely horrifically tough month. But can we manage it? Can we manage it? How many wins can we pick up? Let's be honest. We need to beat Tottenham at home. Liverpool at home, the way they're playing, you got to go for them. You got to go for them. We can't keep just getting beat by these teams, especially at home. Leeds away, Leeds look better, but you've got to beat them. Got to beat them. Man City at home, I'm sick of just getting rolled over. It's a home game. They're much better than us. They'll be the favourites, but you got to get something out of it. At least get a point. Southampton away is like a bogey team for us for some reason. PSV, I mean, that'll be a tough. That's probably our toughest Europa League game. Forest at home, you got to be beating them. Zurich at home, Chelsea away. You've then got Brighton in the EFL third round, and then Wolves, and that's it, World Cup. And then you're off until Boxing Day, West Ham at home. So 12th of November will be the last game before the World Cup. So once they come back from this international break, it is non-stop. October is going to be horrendous. But we've got to manage it game by game. And October ultimately will start today, because if we lose to Brentford on Sunday, the Tottenham game becomes a nightmare. If we beat Brentford, the Tottenham game, we're going into it with absolute fire in our belly. We've got a fire in our belly, win, lose or draw, let's be honest. But Tottenham, Europa League, Liverpool, Europa League, Leeds, you've got to win 2 out of those 3 league games for me. You've got to win 2. Out of Tottenham, Liverpool and Leeds, I think you've got to win 2 of them to get yourself in good shape for the rest of the month. We've also got to beat Brentford this week. That is going to be a very difficult game. As you're saying, man, all hands to the pump. Simple as that. Oktoberfest. This will be a month that we're really going to understand how good we are. It's going to take rotation. Partey probably can't play every week. Europa League, you're going to have to go with weaker squads. Give young players a chance. Give your Nketiahs, your Marquinhos. Those guys are going to have to play. Players are going to have to step up. Let's see what we're about and let's see where we're at by the end of that month. But looking forward to it. 9 games, big month, lots of content, and let's see how it pans out. Thank you very much for tuning in today. Don't forget, today's video is sponsored by the guys at footballprizes.co.uk. Link is in the description below. Win yourself a Robert Pires, a Freddie Lundberg, and a Dennis Bergkamp signed shirt, $9.95. Competition ends Monday, the 19th at 7:30. You have to be in the UK or Republic of Ireland to take part. Footballprizes.co.uk. Talk is Cheap live, 5 p.m. this evening. Tune in on AFTV for that. Me and Laurie will be talking all things Arsenal. I'll be back tomorrow on this channel, of course. And Thursday, 4 p.m. member stream. Get involved. And we'll have a Champions League watch-along tomorrow. Possibly one tonight, depending what time I get back. And obviously, Arsenal v Brentford watch-along on Sunday. Thank you very much for tuning in. Desmond said, will Arsenal have to forfeit the match v PSV? No available dates to reschedule. I'm sure they will get it sorted out, Desmond, and hopefully it won't be called off. Final one, 71% of you saying you would like to see Arsene Wenger back in some sort of capacity helping out Arteta. 29% of you saying that you wouldn't. Thank you very much for tuning in, people. Enjoy the rest of your day. Hopefully see you all on Talk is Cheap later. Maybe a Champions League watch along tonight. If not, I will see you all tomorrow. Take care of yourselves. See you all soon, people. Bless.